What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise Postgame show. The Blazers get a huge win on the road in Dallas over the Mavericks. Things got a little bit nerve-wracking late. The Blazers definitely made this harder on themselves during that stretch run in the fourth quarter. There, things got tight. The Mavericks came back from a double-digit fourth quarter deficit to tie the game, but the Blazers pull it out late behind a huge step-back three-point bucket from Damian Lillard, and then you had a huge bucket late set up from Carmelo Anthony to Derrick Jones Jr. for a lay-in. The Blazers take care of business, get the win over a team that is below 500 right now, but I think more talented than their record would suggest. The Blazers now move to 16-10 on the season. They have won 6 out of 7 games, given their injury situation, given the obstacles they've been facing. This is I'll take a 16-10 record, right, Eric? I mean, I'm feeling pretty pleased with what has occurred over the past week or two.
Yeah, obviously, when you put together a win streak, it makes it look a lot better. So definitely take that over the 12-10 record we had just a week ago after losing to the Knicks. But yeah, so ever since then, we've been playing some really good basketball.
Yep. These refs tonight I thought were very, very bad. Honestly, and I'm not one to talk about the refs, but let's just start off with the refs. Why not?
Right.
I thought this was the worst refereed game of the season. Not a surprise when you got Scott Foster as the ref. My goodness, man. Some of the calls, some of the non-calls were just absolutely ridiculous. You don't have the Blazers shooting a free throw until almost the very end of the first half, I believe. Let me see how many they shot on the game. They were able to shoot 19 on the game. Half, right? Yeah, it was like 3 in the first half, and Dallas was playing very physical after that because they were getting away with it. Very frustrating game in terms of the officiating, but the Blazers, despite all that, pulled things out. I just wanted to touch on that because I thought it was very frustrating, and I see some people in chat that are frustrated about that too.
So the foul in the first half on Dame with the hand checking, okay, like Luka's not driving, so that shouldn't be a foul, first of all. Second of all, if you're going to call that, if you call it consistently, Dame would go to the free throw line almost every possession. Mm-hmm. If just touching someone with their hand is a foul. And then we saw it on towards the end of the game where Melo bumped Luka and they all went crazy. Luka had his hand in the exact same position and spot right next to Scott Foster. And so if you're going to call Dame in the first half for that, then that has to be a foul in the second half. And that's why you don't call those fouls, because then you can't call them in the fourth quarter with the game on the line. So just don't call those fouls. If Luka would have drove and Dame shoved him in the waist, then fine, call the hand check. But don't call it there. And then the technical on Dame, yes, Dame probably deserved a T. He was obviously looking for a technical. But at the time, Scott Foster's on the baseline. Dame's over near half court on the sideline. Scott Foster walks towards Dame just to talk to him and hear what he's saying. That's not diffusing the situation. It's I mean, if we want to compare it to police officers in real life, this is something that people go and instigate versus calm players down. And that's something that Scott Foster, if he would have just walked away and not let that bother him, yes, Dame probably would have kept talking and gotten a technical anyway. But that's not his position to go out of his way to go confront Dame and then tee him up when he's not even talking to him.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, but that's what Scott Foster does. That's why a lot of players don't like him. That's why a lot of fans don't like him. He's always been my least favorite ref out there. He's always been a guy that I always groan when I see that we're going to have a game refereed by him. But despite that, we still win a game on the road in a game where Doncic plays amazing. Doncic finishes with 44 points tonight. It was Doncic versus Dame. Dame had a good game in his own right, 34 points, 11 assists, 12 for 26 from the field, 5 for 11 from 3 for Dame. Doncic was 14 for 20, so a really efficient night for him. Doncic was just hitting everything he threw up. The dude hit a
wide open.
Yeah, he missed the wide open one, but earlier in the game, he's hitting a 3-point floater. He literally hit a 3-point floater, man.
Of course, a 30% 3-point shooter goes off against.
Is hitting 3-point floaters on us, yeah. But yeah. But overall, I thought this was another game where I think our defense was solid. We give up 118 points. part of that is they shot 24 for 25 from the free throw line, so they got to the line a decent amount, and then they knocked them down at a very high clip. Some of those possessions I felt like were good defensive possessions that Dallas was getting points off of because refs were making bad calls. And then you had Luka hitting some tough shots. I thought overall our 3-point defense was good in this one. You look at a team shooting 34% against us, 14 for 41. That's far better than anything we would get earlier in the season. And we've gotten some consistency in regards to slowing down the 3-point attack of opposing offenses, which is nice because we were hopeless in that regard earlier this season. Overall, I'm it's obviously still room for improvement, and this is kind of what we said last game is still kind of the same sort of take here, but overall, still solid defense with some areas that they can maybe tighten up.
Yeah, I'm not as optimistic as you probably, but
of course not.
The previous games, we play Cleveland. I mean, Sexton could get there eventually, but as of right now, and certainly with the way he played on Friday, he's not like a dynamic pick and roll player. Simmons likes to do pick and roll, but he can't shoot, so you can play that a certain way every time. And then Magic were missing like all their playmakers, so they didn't have anyone that could run like a pick and roll.
Yeah.
But like Luka tonight, so I was interested to see how we defended him. And it was interesting that they put Rocco on him and not Derek Jones, and they had Derek Jones on Porzingis. So I thought that was interesting. I think what they were planning on doing was just switching the Porzingis and Luka picks, and then you would have the correct matchups. But what happened was they just would screen with whoever Dame was guarding or Cantor was guarding, and they weren't worried about that specific pick and roll. But especially at the beginning of the second half, I thought our pick and roll defense was really bad.
I mean, we had some areas of struggle. I did see some different coverages thrown out there. I mean, when you start listing, the Cleveland and Colin Sexton isn't there yet. I mean, the dude has been phenomenal this year, I think. I mean, he's
at times
but it's like saying, here's the thing.
Not in the way to expose our.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Against those guys, we were being exposed earlier this year. So like, I mean, like we would go up against those teams and just do awful and get exposed. You look at some games early in the season against Chicago Bulls, against Oklahoma City Thunder, even which was a little bit later into the season. Multiple games where we're going up against rosters that aren't necessarily built to exploit us, and they devoured our defense, right? So there's still some improvement, because we were going from playing, some questionable offenses and getting destroyed to playing some questionable offenses and actually doing a decent job defensively. And, we gave up 118 points in this one. I think a lot of that, at least some of it was due to the free throw line. I felt like there was at least 3-4 possessions you pointed to where it should have been a stop, but the refs bailed out the Mavericks with a call and they knocked down all but one of their 25 free throws. So you can't really just look at the points thing. Overall, held them to a low percentage from the 3-point line. Our interior defense wasn't that good. I mean, they shot 34% from 3, but they shot over 49% from the field, meaning they made a lot of shots inside the arc. But they shot more than half their shots from the 3-point line, So overall, it's I wouldn't necessarily say it was good, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was a bad defensive performance. I like that we're seeing some. Here's the thing: average defense is a good goal for this team, right?
Yeah.
You look at how bad they were, right? So if they have just like a defensive game, like. At some point, it's going to be like, okay, hopefully we can get better than that, if we get used to it. But considering how bad it was, that's still nice that we can say that we had a pretty defense. You know what I mean? Like, there's progress there.
I'm more concerned about, like, I don't know about you, but it seemed like they were getting open threes, and it might have been a case of they missed a lot of open threes. Klaber, he hasn't shot the ball extremely well this year, but in the past he's been a lights out shooter. And Porzingis, I think, was 0 for 3 tonight.
Porzingis has struggled, but
he took some bad shots. But
Kleber's actually shooting 47% from 3 this year. which is insane. Yeah, he's been lights out. Porzingis has been the one who's been struggling, and we saw him continue tonight.
But so when you run a pick and roll, and then the pick guy is wide open, but they also have a wide open guy like under the hoop too. There's got to be something cleaned up there. But like Luka's the type of person who will absolutely destroy those kind of coverages and misses in it. So I think overall we did just enough on the defensive end to get a win, especially when a lot of those plays in the fourth quarter were really horrible offensive possessions too, and we weren't getting much going on the offensive end. So to get some stops and keep a lead because you were able to stop them just enough too was nice as well.
Yeah, I mean, definitely could point out possessions of struggle, but overall I thought it was a okay game defensively, and that's promising. Here's the thing. I don't think there was a lot of possessions where guys were maybe catching the ball open, but I feel like we're doing a better job of closing out hard.
Closeouts are better, yeah.
And contesting the shots better, right? Which means, in my mind, they're not as open. When guys are catching the ball, it's like, wow, they have a lot of space. This looks just like earlier in the season. But I think a big difference right now is we're closing that gap a lot faster, a lot better. And then when we run guys off the three-point line and they drive, we're doing a much better job in scramble situations behind that to rotate over properly and in a timely manner. So I think that's been the biggest improvement with this defense. Let me shout out some donos.
I want to talk about some, but let's get to those donos.
Shout out RIP Blazers. $2 donation. He says, could we finally get a 5-game win streak going? That would be dope, man. I hope so. Shout out PS3 Nintendo for a $2 donation. He says, damn, pancakes, French toast, and mimosas. Nintendo loves his pancakes. Shout out to Dro for the $5 dono. He says, the refs tried to help Dallas win. We took it to Dallas's throats tonight. Rip City versus everybody. Hopefully Stotts consistently adjusts. LFG. Appreciate the dono. Yeah, man, I mean, the refs are really bad. I don't think any Blazer fan will tell you otherwise. It was pretty rough. And then $20 dono from Near012. He says, I hate to say it, but we are a more complete team without CJ. We aren't better, but teams can't guess who will step up if there's balanced scoring. I will also say I hope Nurkic can study Kanter's footwork in the post. And I don't agree with the take that we're necessarily a more complete team. I don't know necessarily what that means. Appreciate the donos from all you guys for sure.
There's no reason why we can't be a complete team with CJ.
That is my opinion. So I do disagree with your opinion on that one, Near Zero. I don't know. A lot of the things we're doing better, we could do better with CJ, right? CJ wasn't the one stopping us from doing things that we're improving on right now, things that we're making progress on. So a lot of people are saying the way we're playing right now and just correlating it with CJ being gone, right? It's funny because CJ goes out and it's like, oh, well, what is Stott supposed to do? He doesn't have CJ. There's no chance, yada, yada, yada. And then the team plays well. And I'm not saying like, you were the one saying that first opinion, Near Zero, but, that's kind of the other side of the Blazer community. And then once the team plays well and plays like this, then it's, oh, well, we should trade CJ because this team's better without him, or more complete team. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't agree. I just think this is a team that's playing average defense that still has enough guys offensively to consistently have good offensive nights. And you look at this today, played average defense, but had a good enough offense to still win a game against a decently talented team in the Mavericks. So I think that is kind of the situation we're in right now. I'll let you maybe touch on that CJ aspect after I thank Shaggy Squid for the $5 Australian dono. He says, my issue is Stotts doesn't make good mid-game adjustments, especially in the fourth of games. Otherwise, loving that we are trending in the right direction. I'm 100% on board with you, Shaggy Squid. So do you want to touch on the CJ conversation? Because that's been something that a lot of people are talking about. I don't want to focus on it too much, but I feel like we should touch on it.
So let me bring this back to what we were saying before you got into the donos. And this applies to CJ when he's in the game as well. So what happens, I was primarily watching Dame in the first half of this game. And so Dame just goes down the court and if they're all matched up correctly, of course, he's on the right matchup. But for the most part, he just takes who's ever not like their good player, but whoever he runs down closest to, right? And then from there on, it's basically like Dame tries to move as least amount as possible on defense. So he'll just stand there, and if a guy picks, he'll just switch, but he won't like move at all. So it got burned a couple times where the guy cut behind him or something, or he thought someone was going to switch automatically, and he just stood there, and the guy cut to the hoop, and Luka found him. But this is the problem. So when you have Dame and CJ in there, Stotts lets both of those guys do that. So they're just always kind of just hanging out, watching the play happen, and don't think they're really involved in the play, and then they'll just switch and not really be focused or locked in. And so I think we just have to get Dame and CJ to lock in and commit on that end. I don't know why that's still a problem, but like I don't think it would be an issue on our defense if we didn't have these lapses off ball, which we've seen in recent games we're not having as many of, and that's why our defense is improving, in addition to like the closeouts being better. But when CJ comes back, I just like to see them maybe challenge Dame and CJ a little bit to pick up their intensity on defense and just not make mistakes. That's all you have to do is like get locked in and not like lose your guy or not overhelp and do those little things that we've been talking about all season. And I think they'd be fine on that end with Dame and CJ. And the offensive upside in games where we struggle to score, we don't have much offense, CJ still provides that. And he's a good enough passer. We've seen it this year with the 5 assists where he can fit in a style if that's the way we want to play. I'm just not convinced that we ever really talk about sharing the ball that much. It's just about our scorers making plays. And we saw that again tonight down the stretch. We didn't have any kind of offense. It was just Dame make something happen or Melo post up and see what you can do. And Melo made some great passes in the fourth quarter of this game. But it shouldn't be that reliant on those guys to score. But if that's our offense, we absolutely need CJ as part of it.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. Like, if you have CJ, it might allow Dame to rest a little bit more on offense, because CJ is the type of guy who can, take over a possession, make things happen. Whereas, like, right now, like, we have good offensive players, but we don't really have the type of guy who's going to create shots for himself and others at a high level. So, in that scenario, it has to be Dame. And we don't have an offense that's going to really do that either, so Dame has a lot of responsibility right now. So, with CJ, hypothetically, Dame could be a better defender. He could expend more energy on that side of the court and not have to do so much offensively. But then also, you got Melo, who's been shooting at a clip over the past like 6-7 games that isn't sustainable. He's been shooting the lights out of the ball. He kind of came a little bit back down to earth tonight, but still had a decent game. But he's not going to shoot over 50% from the field and like 50% from three or whatever his efficiency numbers were the past 6-7 games. Trent Jr. is also shooting with crazy efficiency the past 6-7 games as well. That's not sustainable. So like, I feel like people are a little overreacting a little bit to how well the offense is right now. It still looks amazing because guys are making shots, but it's not necessarily as sustainable as if the offense was playing at this level with CJ. So that whole discussion, just I'm not gonna talk CJ trades or any of that type of stuff. I know everybody's been talking about that lately because the team is playing well without him, but I mean that's just what happens.
Yep. Shaggy Squid with another $2 donation says CJ gives teams another player to abuse on defense. And once again, I don't think Dame and CJ are the problem on defense. I think it's our schemes and the way we defend the pick and roll, as you saw tonight, wasn't great when they did go to the pick and roll. And
a lot of little things that we hadn't cleaned up and that we are starting to clean up now. If we still had CJ, the defense would still be improving because a lot of guys are cleaning up a lot of the little mistakes. The problem was you had Dame and CJ, and then you had a bunch of little mistakes from everyone on the roster on top of that. So you clean up those little mistakes and you give yourself the best chance to win with CJ.
The perfect example is the last play for Dallas tonight where one person thinks they're switching and the other person doesn't, and they give up a wide open 3 to a team that needs a 3 with 6 seconds left, and it's to their best player. But
that was not a good final defensive possession there.
But stuff like that happened like all the time before, and weird like throughout the game. Whereas now it stands out a little more since they're a little more locked in on that end. But this is what I was saying after last game: is when you get CJ back, if he's not doing the things that are winning us these games right now. If he is not locked in on defense, if he is making all these little mistakes still that we've been seeing all year, it's going to stand out a lot more. And Stotts knows that he has guys like Ant had like a really good possession on defense where he got switched on Luka and actually like stayed in front of him, kind of tried to be physical with him. Luka had to take a tough like 10-foot turnaround and he missed it. And he's going to make that sometimes, but you have guys who can maybe make a stop on this team. You don't have to play CJ all the time. So this is a case where maybe, you know, if CJ's not getting it done on that end, then Stotts finally has the team and the personnel to be like, okay, until you clean this up and stop doing this, I'm going to play Trent in these situations or whoever. So like, hopefully that leads to CJ playing better defense. We talked about this all the time before, whereas you don't want to be the guy that's messing up, right? You want to be the guy who's helping to make your defense really good. So you don't want to be the guy singled out by your coaching staff or in film or whatever that you're the one screwing up and making these mistakes and causing our defense to be bad. So I don't think it's going to be it's not going to be like a team thing if CJ comes back and our defense just goes down and is terrible. It'll stand out like what's going wrong, I think.
Yeah. So overall, the Blazers today shot 53% from the field, 45% from three. They struggled from the free throw line. You had Dame missed back-to-back free throws, which is very rare for a guy who's shooting 94% from the free throw line going in. But overall, from three and inside the arc as well, they shot the ball well. And this is a team that's been shooting the three ball well, but you have multiple guys on this team that shoot the three ball at the same percentage as they shoot the two. So it was nice to be able to get into the paint and get some buckets to go. You know, you had Carmelo shoot 6 for 9 on twos today. You had Gary Trent Jr. shoot 3 for 5 on twos today. Anthony didn't shoot a 2, but you know, the other guys, Harry Giles 2 for 3. Rocco was 4 for 4 from 3, only 1 for 3 from 2. Dame was 7 for 15 from 2, and is 6 for 7. That's a very efficient night from him. So you got a lot of interior buckets from the mid-range at an efficient clip tonight, and I feel like that's, you know, it kind of offset the fact that we probably should have been getting to the line more, and then when we did get to the line, we were missing some free throws. So, you know, I think the biggest contributor to that is Enes Kanter going 6 for 7 inside the arc, but you had other guys that kind of struggle within the arc, mainly Gary Trent Jr. and Carmelo Anthony shoot about 50%, which is a good clip to see them convert at, you know. So we got some opportunities to attack, and we made the most out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And even Trent, whose numbers were just flashed upon the screen. Melo got double teamed in the post and kicked out to him for an open 3 that he missed, and then Dame kicked out to him for a 3. That was back-to-back possessions where Trent got an open 3 and missed. But you like those shots. I felt like we put Trent in the right positions on those plays, and that's something that more times than not, I feel like he's going to knock at least one of those two down.
Yep. So overall, what were you going to say?
Can I just, since Shaggy Squid's donated a couple times, I just want to address something he said.
Yeah.
He says, who are we kidding? Stotts won't take CJ off for bad D. So here's why this is important. Now that everyone knows we do have players that can play defense, it's going to stick out for Stotts as well. So Stotts won't get a pass just saying like, oh, well, CJ and Dame suck. We can't ever play defense with them. So what's Stotts supposed to do? Because you could say, well, Stotts could not play them together, or he could do something different on defense. So if CJ comes back and they are really struggling on defense, I feel like that's going to put a lot of pressure on Stotts to make it improve, instead of in the past where they're just like, well, they built the whole team around Dame and CJ. He's got to play those guys. What is he supposed to do? And so now he might finally get that pressure that we've been waiting for to actually do something about the problems they have on defense when they have Dame and CJ in the lineup.
Yeah. I mean, we just got to see what that is and address it. I just hate when people take like, oh, we're playing well without a guy. That means we're better without him. You know what I mean? Like, they correlate two things that shouldn't be correlated. So that whole conversation just kind of makes me roll my eyes at this point, and it's I get people, people, they're entitled to their opinions. I don't know, man. It's like there's so much that goes into it, and there's so much that went into our struggles. To say that our struggles are fixed because we don't have CJ and we are now a better team without him when the dude was absolutely balling out, it is just crazy to me. Like, the problem wasn't the problem wasn't that we had a 28-5 guy. And here's the thing. When we started off without CJ, our defense was still just as bad. And that'd be my point to just end the conversation. When we started off without CJ, our defense was just as bad as it was with them. There was no noticeable difference. The noticeable difference has come from us improving without CJ. It's not like CJ ended up being out and then we immediately were better. So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on. What else do you want to touch on from this game?
Let's get into the players, yeah.
Let's get into the players. I am down. Let me make it manual. There we go. All right, so you're starting off with Dame. 34 points, 11 assists, 12 for 26 from the field, 5 for 11 from 3. Efficient night from 3. He was 7 for 15 inside the arc, and I felt like at least 2 of those shots, he probably should have been going to the free throw line. The refs did not pay him any respect, in my opinion, on a lot of his drives. I don't know. There's games where it's like Dame hunts fouls, even though he's not getting respect, and it's almost like he decides to hunt them more, and he doesn't get calls. It's like it should have been obvious that he's not gonna get calls this game, and he kept hunting them. He airballed a 3, trying to draw foul. It seemed like sometimes I just wish he'd kind of accept the fact and just not try and bait fouls. But overall, I do think he got kind of screwed over by the refs. Still had a great game. Hit that clutch 3 down the stretch in the final minute to go ahead and kind of put the game away.
Yeah, it's always weird. Like, how does Dame not get a call? Like, now one call in a whole half when the amount of times he was driving and the amount of contact he takes, and just the fact that like players are like he'll go up and players land on top of him. It's not necessarily a foul like on the shooting motion, but like that's definitely a foul in basketball if you come down in their space or you're landing on top of them or knocking them to the ground. And that just happened way too many times tonight without a foul call. But you can always count on Dame. I mean, what happens? He misses 2 free throws. He's having a horrible shooting game, and he's always there in the fourth quarter to like do his thing. And he hit the biggest shot of the game again tonight. And this guy, I feel like he deserves to be a starter in the All-Star game, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, Luka's balling in his own right. Steph's balling in his own right. The top three point guards in the league. I don't know. Like, the top 3 guards in the West are easily Dame, Steph, Luka. You know what I mean? Like, if Dame ends up coming off the bench, like, I still think Dame's a better player than Luka, and I think he's honestly probably just as good as Steph. If he comes off the bench, it's not like he's coming off the bench behind, some scrubs. It's not like how it was when he got snubbed out of the All-Star game behind people. He definitely deserved it over. It's something where it's like, all right, it's I don't know. It's not going to make me angry because like half of it is fan voting anyway in a popularity contest, and which is just meaningless in its own right. But
I just wish Dame would get a chance to do it. I'm sure Luka will have it plenty in his career.
Yeah, he will. Overall, solid game from Dame. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, let me just tell Nolan Johnson. So this will be your one warning. Don't post fake injury updates. If you do it again, we'll have to ban you. But it's not cool, man.
Yep. So let's move on and talk about what we got. Wait, let me make it so that when I use my arrow keys to go to the next slide, and sometimes it'll like move your webcam. Second guy I put is Rocco. 15 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 for 7 from the field, 4 for 4 from 3. Had a great 3-point shooting night. Was shooting it with a ton of confidence. made some plays for guys. Overall, very complete game, very solid game. Very happy with what Rocco brought. This is what he was being advertised to us for. You know what I mean? This is the type of Rocco we were expecting a lot more of this season. It's nice to see it. Hopefully he'll have more games like this because he's definitely struggled with his shot, but tonight he definitely didn't.
Yeah, I mean, he was shooting the three with confidence. He shot a couple of his were with guys in his face. I don't think he had 4 assists, but did he?
Yeah. No, 4 steals. 4 steals.
Yeah.
All right. Let me fix that for you. 4 steals tonight. He's had games where he's had 4 assists and whatnot.
No, it wasn't that surprising, but I thought we only had 15 as a team.
Yeah. We didn't have many.
So,
4 steals is probably more impressive than 4 assists, though. So
Yep, absolutely.
Good catch there, though.
But yeah, this was definitely. I don't know if it was his best game overall, but offensively, he had a really nice drive too, where he actually like juked someone off the dribble. It was nice, and finished another lay-in earlier in the game. Really good effort by Covington, and hopefully we see more games like this. Not necessarily, shooting. He doesn't have to shoot this well, but just closer to his percentages of years past versus the struggles he's had early in the season. But yeah, really nice game from Rocco tonight.
Yep. There you go. You guys could hear me like resaving his graphic. The OCD in me has to have it right. When will CJ and Nurkic come back? CJ should be reevaluated in a couple days. Nurkic in a couple weeks. Yeah. Overall, I mean, people were a bit too hard on him. I'm still telling you guys to just be patient. It will come around. He will have a stretch where he shoots the ball like this. Hopefully this is the start of it, because we've been really good offensively with him struggling from the 3-point line, with him like underachieving offensively compared to what he's normally done. So if he can get back to that only adds to what we could be offensively, and we're already a really good offensive team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like I said, if Covington and Jones start hitting threes at like anything close to above their career averages, we're going to be pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, I'm not really expecting that from Jones.
No, I'm not expecting. I'm just saying if we have games where they're shooting like Covington did tonight, then we're pretty much impossible to stop on offense.
Yeah, true. Let's move on and talk about Carmelo. We're going through these fast, and we'll take your questions after this. We'll have more time to engage with you. And then I want to watch the rest of this Daytona 500, to be honest. Carmelo, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 for 17 from the field, 1 for 8 from the 3-point line. That was a really nice clutch play he made where he got doubled. I don't think that's a call that you should call there, especially game on the line. Like, I don't think that was an offensive foul. I think it was as much of a flop as anything, yep. Right? Luka's stronger than that. Regardless, he drove the lane, had a really nice feed and dish to Derrick Jones Jr. to make that a 3-point game. That was a very clutch creation play from Carmelo. He shot the ball well inside the arc, had a very nice drive and dunk to end, the first half. That was maybe it was the first quarter. I don't remember exactly. But the play where he drove baseline and dunked it on Kleba, that was a very impressive drive and dunk. He kind of looked like Prime Melo, He turned back the clock a little bit on that one, so that was a really impressive play from him. I love seeing that overall. He struggled from the 3-point line, but then this was kind of an inverse game from what he normally has. Normally he's fine from the 3-point line, struggles inside the arc. It was kind of the opposite, but overall he played a solid game today.
Yeah, another good game from Melo. He's stringing together a really nice streak of games. I think in the last 6 or 7 games he's only really had one game that stands out as being necessarily bad. But yeah, I like the fact in the fourth quarter, like I said, he had that kick out to Trent with a couple minutes left. He made the right play on the double team came, and he immediately kicked it out to the guy whose guy came and doubled him. Like you said, he had that nice pass to Derrick Jones. So if you get all the stuff that comes along with Carmelo, but he's being a willing passer in those situations, I think that not only will his efficiency improve once he shoots the ball, but like I just feel like he's a much better complement to this team if he's more of a well-rounded player versus just feed it into him and watch him shoot.
Yeah, and that pass to Giles was nice. Nice that Giles paid it off by hitting that mid-range jumper. We'll see if Giles is okay or what the deal is. Hopefully it's just a calf cramp or something, probably a pulled calf, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Melo, he had a nice kick-out pass out of a double to an open Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. missed the three, but that was another play where he could have potentially gotten an assist. Overall, just he's playing a little bit more of a complete game and being a little bit more efficient the past 6-7 games. He's been a little better defensively. He competed against Porzingis when he was matched up against Porzingis, especially down low, really held his own. So overall, pleased with what Carmelo brought tonight.
You know what's weird? You know what's weird about Melo tonight?
What's up?
I thought a lot of his threes were bad shots, whereas it's usually the opposite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was a couple times where he was running the point Melo position, and he just like would dribble it up, and then he kind of like cross over for a minute, and then he just shoot a 3-point shot where no one else touched the ball. And so like ones like that, I feel like if he just cut those out, it would have been. You know, he could have been like 1 for 4, 1 for 5 from 3 instead, and then all of a sudden we're talking about him shooting like way better tonight. And then, but his mid-range shots, like again, he had that dunk, like you said. A couple of his other ones, he's getting into the paint and shooting like little 8-footers and stuff instead of those like twisting fadeaway 1-foot, like 15-foot shots. And I feel like most of his shots tonight were. Like he was completely square to the basket, jumping off 2 feet and getting in good position instead of taking a really hard turnaround shot.
Yeah, I felt like for the most part, yeah, he kind of settled out on the 3-point arc. He didn't really settle inside the arc, and yeah, normally it is different. Definitely don't like those possessions where he's, nobody. Honestly, even if it's Dame, sometimes I don't like possessions where just nobody touches the ball and you're not really hot from 3 and you just dribble the ball up, do a couple crossovers, isolate, and shoot a contested 3. I don't really like those possessions just in general, and Carmelo had a couple of them tonight that I didn't really like, but overall, it's a solid game.
Yep, I agree.
Michael says, anyone in Portland metro area have power? I mean, Vancouver is like out. I don't know. Some people say it's in Portland metro area, but I mean, I'm fine because I'm streaming. So
I have power too.
But and we had a ton of snow where I'm at, so hopefully you guys are staying safe and all that. Let's move on and talk about Gary Trent Jr., who's up next. 17 points. Didn't really do much other than score the ball. Had a rebound and a steal. 3 for 5 inside the arc. 3 for 8 from the 3-point line. Decently efficient night. He got hot there for a stretch. He's been very streaky in the past 3 games, I'd say. In last game,
like a hot half and a cold half.
Yeah, it's recently. And the thing is, his hot halves outweigh his cold. When he has a cold stretch, it just seems like if he's going 3 for 5, those 3 are likely to be all in a row, and then those 2 are likely to be in a row. You know what I mean? He's been a little bit streaky, but overall, he's shooting an insane clip from the 3-point line, 45%. You'll take that. He's been better defensively, I think, lately than he was earlier in the season. I don't know what it is. I think his defensive improvement has gone with the team. He's been better in that regard.
I felt like in the first half he wasn't that good defensively, but then second half he really was playing the passing lanes, and he got those 2 steals in a row. One led to an and one, and the other was a wide open dunk. So I felt like he picked it up in the second half and kind of made up for maybe a little laziness in the first half.
Yeah, he's been getting to the rim better than I would expect him to lately too. He's struggled necessarily to convert some of those opportunities, but he's been good. He's been decent off the dribble, and showing a decent amount of burst in terms of accelerating to the rim. So that's just a part of his game that's kind of like the dressing. It's kind of like the extra stuff, right? He's like, you want him to be 3-and-D guy, right? At the highest level possible for both three-point shooting and defense. If he can add just some slashing ability on top of that, that raises his ceiling to a whole nother level. So I'm seeing flashes of it. I think, he's still only 22 years old, still very early in his NBA career. It's just something that has me intrigued long term.
Yeah, I mean, his development over the past, season plus, it's just really nice. And I mean, he just turned 22 recently. This guy still has a really high ceiling. I still feel like we should move him off the ball a little more. He's doing a better job of doing it on his own, but maybe like get him some open threes off curls and double screens and stuff like that instead of just like the normal weave options, or kickouts. But overall, Gary Trent, he's been huge for us while CJ's been down. Reese just posted his stats. He's almost up to 20 points per game as a starter. And he's been as good as we could have hoped for with CJ out.
Yep. Next guy is Cantor, who has definitely been our most consistent role player so far this season. It seems like every game he's having a solid game. I can't remember the last game we said he had a bad game. And honestly, like, a bad game for him is normally, he's fine offensively, but he's playing terrible defensively. But there hasn't been a game anytime recently that stood out like he's really struggling defensively. I feel like he's made solid strides on that end. And then offensively, he's as consistent as they come. On the boards, he's as consistent as they come. He doesn't make many mistakes. He does with the ball. He picks his spots very, very well. He just so underrated, as a role player, and he's been huge so far this season. In Nurkic's absence, been very consistent and somebody that we can rely on night in, night out. This is another one of those nights. 14 points, 8 rebounds, and assists.
Yeah, I mean, knowing that their bigs like to shoot threes and stuff, this is probably not as good a matchup for him as the like playing someone like Drummond last game. But he absolutely held his own once again. You can count on him to be around getting offensive rebounds. And I like the fact that he went right at Porzingis when he got the opportunities in the post. Porzingis had no chance of stopping a veteran like Cantor. And he makes it look easy sometimes with those post moves. Maybe something we should exploit a little bit more. But overall, Cantor was just solid again tonight.
Yep, I agree. You want to just move on to the next guy? We got Ant next. All right, Anthony Simons, 12 points, 3 rebounds, and an assist. Only shot threes today and was 4 for 6. Very solid showing from Anthony. He's been shooting the three ball really, really well, and it's not just catch and shoot shots. He's been doing it in all types of ways, off pick and roll. He's starting to become... He's starting to remind me of Dame, the way he comes off a screen, and if the big is dropped, he's just automatically pulling up from 3, and he's shooting a decent clip on it. And then he's just fit in as a 3-point shooter, and it's nice to see him shoot the ball efficiently from the outside.
Yeah, I mean, I really like what Simons is becoming. I know I'm saying that about a lot of players, but like his 3-point shot just looks so much better. Like last year, he shot it and it's just like, please go in, please go in. But this year, I feel like more often than not, I'm like, oh, that's good. And it's just nice to see him growing on both ends. And I mean, you can tell he put in a lot of work on his defense, and he's not a liability on that end. And as long as he continues to improve that way, and eventually, I mean, he's got the athletic ability, and so it's just a matter of figuring things out and learning some vet moves and learning how to get through screens and stuff like that. If he could ever do that, he could be like a really, really good player in this league.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're just seeing a lot of positive improvement from a number of guys right now, and that's why we sit at 16-10. We're not 16-10 without a lot of this individual improvement from a lot of the guys we're talking about. So Anthony is one of them. I'm still still wanted to see a little bit more from his dribble drive game. I think it's there. I just think it needs to click for him. And there's, still a little bit of growth in that regard that needs to be seen, but we know he has that ability as well. That's something that's still a little bit more of a work in progress. But like tonight, I mean, he didn't force anything in terms of driving the ball and forcing shots around the rim. He only shot threes. And overall, good shot selection on those threes and shooting the ball with confidence. I think he's north of 40%. It's he and Gary Trent Jr. came into the league at the same time. Both are 3-year players, and after this game, Anthony should be above 40%, and Gary's up at 45%. So you got some good. We got 2 40% 3-point shooters in that draft.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal draft from Olshey. That draft, to be quite honest with you. That's all we have in terms of player graphics, but we can touch on anybody else that we haven't touched on if you want to.
So, here's the thing. Okay, so I don't know if I read this right because obviously we're doing the stream, but Anthony Davis just got hurt. But didn't I see something that he was hobbling to the locker room? Same with Giles. He hobbled off the court. If these guys tore their Achilles, they would be down and they'd have to get the stretcher or something for them. So it's probably not a torn Achilles. I mean, it might be, but usually you're down for a while if you tear your Achilles.
I mean, not to sound insensitive, but AD is a guy who gets hurt a lot, will look like he's hurt, will hobble off, and then be back 5 minutes later and be completely fine. So, I mean, obviously, hopefully that's the case. That happens a lot with AD, so I'm not overreacting to anything injury-wise from anyone until, we have more news.
Yeah, Kobe walked off, but he was down for a long time, and it was obvious he had torn his Achilles. He didn't just, get up a few minutes later and hobble, to the locker room. He had to be helped to the locker room. He actually made 2 free throws, which is amazing, but, yeah.
Yeah. It's I'm not really stressing yet. I don't think it's that with Harry Giles. I mean, maybe it is, but I agree with you on it.
There's so apparently he's been having some Achilles issues lately.
Who?
So
AD?
Anthony Davis. So he's got they diagnosed him with the same or a similar thing to what I had in my Achilles.
Yeah.
And then, they didn't, they let him play on it when it was bothering him. So hopefully, like someone said in chat, it's not a Rodney Hood situation, where you let him play even though he, was having some Achilles pain. I think the data is out on that. If someone's having Achilles pain, you do not play them at all.
Yeah, 100%. That's pretty much common sense at this point. Shout out VGK Tiger75 for the $5 dono. He says, watch the game in the dark since the power is out, but glad we won. Now let's win the next 2 games. Yeah, the Blazers coming up have 2 games that are very, very winnable against lottery teams in the West. If they continue to play the type of basketball they've been playing, I expect them to be able to take care of those games, not putting, obviously they lost to OKC earlier this year, and New Orleans has some talented players. But, I mean, you're looking at a team that is playing the best basketball of its season and kind of playing up their talent level, and I think we have a better lineup than OKC for sure. And then I think we'll have a better lineup on the floor with New Orleans. After that, you got a home game versus Washington, and these next 3 games, man, if the Blazers could win 2 of the next 3, I'd be okay. They'd be sitting at 18-11, right? If you go back to when Nurkic hurt himself, right? That was the Indiana game. And then the game after that, CJ hurt himself, right? When we beat Atlanta. So without CJ, without Nurkic, and you're at 8-5, we were at that point. If you said over the next 16 games, they're going to go 10-6, you'd probably take that, missing Nurkic and CJ. And that's if they go 2-1 over these next 3 games, which all 3 of these games are winnable. If they continue to play like how they've been playing, I think they could definitely win all 3 of these games and be 19-10. I mean, this is just a completely different feeling compared to what we had last year at this point, because I think we were 10-16 instead of 16-10. correct?
I think we went through that last game.
Now, obviously, we're only 6 games better, but we're just playing at a much better level. We have a better roster. If we start struggling, it could get tough, and we could be looking at a 500 record. But you're talking about CJ being reevaluated 2 days from now is like his reevaluation date. And that's when we have our next game against OKC. Not saying he's coming back then. Who knows when they'll deem him ready to return, but he's getting close. He's getting close to being able to return. In a couple weeks, got Nurkic's reevaluation date. And honestly, I expect him to maybe be able to return first game after the All-Star break on the 11th. We only have 9 games left until the All-Star break, right? So if Nurkic can return after the All-Star break, maybe a little bit after, we don't have that many games without those 2 guys left. So we're in a good position. It's nice, man, especially after some of the struggles and some of the bad losses we had earlier this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take wins as long as they happen, and stringing a nice win streak together has definitely been fun. Definitely glad for that, because last year, we couldn't get out of our own way. It's just like 1 step forward and 2 steps back. This year, at least the steps back haven't been like further back than our steps forward. So we're hanging in there. We're doing whatever we need to do to grind out some of these games, and then keep a game like this. We probably shouldn't have been close at the end, but we have the ultimate guy for when we do have close games in Damian Lillard, and so we should win more than we lose when it's close games just because of that.
Yep, I agree with that. So WN has a good stat. He says 16-10 is our best start through 25 games since the 2014-2015 season. And a couple of those seasons, we ended up getting the 3rd seed. So the team, I wouldn't say they're starting hot. All this talk about, we need to start hot. I wouldn't say they're starting hot because they have generally had an easy schedule. They've probably had one of the easier schedules in the league so far, and that's going to continue the next 3 games. The second half schedule is going to be kind of brutal, actually. But overall, it's you're happy with it. There's no complaints here.
Yeah, because we were 10-9. We've been hot since then.
Yeah, you're talking about 6 out of 7
really
wins. You take care of these next 3 games, they're winnable games. You could be talking about 9-1 over their last 10. That would be very, very impressive. So, do you want to go around the NBA? You want to look at scores?
Yeah, let's go around the NBA.
I'll start with the active games right now. You have the Nuggets beating the Lakers 66-57 with 54 seconds left in the second quarter. As we just touched on, Anthony Davis left that game with some sort of leg injury. We will see what that turns into. But the Nuggets are playing good basketball right now and are up almost double digits on the Lakers. You also have the Grizzlies beating the Kings by a score of 69-55 with 8 minutes and change left in the third. Dylan Brooks is having a good game for the Grizzlies. He has 18 points. Other than that, at halftime, you got the Clippers beating the Cavs 70-58. Serge Ibaka has 15 points for the Clippers. In terms of games that have finished, you have the Wizards beating the struggling Celtics. The Celtics have had a couple bad losses, one to the Pistons and one here to the Wizards. They are not playing good basketball right now. The Wizards are led by Bradley Beal, scoring 35 for them tonight. Kemba had 25 for the Celtics in their loss. The Celtics fall to 500 at 13-13. That team has been a bit of a disappointment despite Tatum and Brown playing very, very well. I think that Gordon Hayward loss is looking a little bigger nowadays. You see what he's doing in Charlotte, and you see Boston struggling. I feel like he ended up being a bit underrated at the end of his tenure there in Boston. What do you think about that? Would you agree with that?
Sorry, I was watching the Anthony Davis thing. What did you say?
What is the I said, you look at what Gordon Hayward has been doing in Charlotte. He's been playing great, and the Celtics lose him. The Celtics are 13-13 despite Jaylen Brown making a ton of improvements this year. Jaylen Brown's been playing great. You got Peyton Pritchard. We're bringing in Peyton Pritchard to come off the bench. Like, the only loss, really, in terms of talent was losing Gordon Hayward. And I feel like Gordon Hayward was underrated at the end of his Celtics tenure there. He goes to Charlotte and has been balling out, and the Celtics are 500 right now. They're struggling. Yeah,
the Celtics, they did lose Smart. I think they're 3-5 without him. They're actually 5-10 since Kemba came back, I think. which is not good either. Um, yeah, I saw some stuff today. Fentress was saying fire. God, I'm blanking on his name.
Brad Stevens.
Fire Stevens, right? Um,
You need basketball reasons for, like, what's your basketball reason then? What are they struggling with?
Because they're 500.
Yeah, see, it's just that stupid crap. Like, everything is results-based, and he's trying to make a point to people who criticize Stotts based on basketball things by talking about Brad Stevens based on non-basketball things. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. I hate that stuff. Fentress being a clown again.
Tatum's really been struggling, too, since Kemba came back and Smart went
past
down.
Couple games. He was fine before that, but yeah, they need more from him.
But yeah, see, we can comment about the Blazers because we watch basically every minute of every game, but like I've seen maybe 2 Celtics games, so I can't really.
And Fentress has probably seen none. So yeah, I'm getting I'm getting tired of the media trying to talk about other coaches that they don't watch based on records. It's so casual, and it just flies in the face of the. It's just like, that's not the point we're making. We're not saying fire Stotts because if he's simply losing games or whatnot. It's based on basketball things. Those basketball things are improving, so that's why we're pretty quiet right now about it. Because we're seeing some improvement. So I'm just kind of giving him a chance to I'm kind of taking it easy on him, letting the team is showing some improvement. So I'm just kind of sitting back and watching to see if that continues, to see if some other things improve on top of that.
And you didn't like their moves in the offseason with Tristan Thompson and
nope,
Jeff
never liked
Teague.
Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, so,
Jeff Teague is okay. I didn't mind the Jeff
really
Teague
bad,
thing.
but yeah.
But yeah, Tristan Thompson, it's like I've never been high on him. And Daniel Tice has been playing well. I don't know why they're playing so bad. It's kind of baffling to me because you look at guys individually and it seems like guys are playing up to their ability level for the most part, but they're not winning games. So definitely there is something deeper there.
There's someone that has a huge trade exception from that Hayward trade. It'll be interesting to see if between now and the trade deadline they add a major piece. They could be a big time player for any really good big man that becomes available.
Yeah,
I know Reese would love if they got Vucevic, or there was Miles Turner. Rumors before the season started. Well, they were trying.
John
to
Collins is another
trade.
name to look out for.
Yeah, and they don't have their stockpile of draft picks as much that they used to have, but they still have most of their own picks coming up in future drafts. So.
I think this will be the year they finally make a splash, though. I think they'll finally get a little desperate enough to actually do something, because Danny Ainge has kind of been a bit stagnant in regards to some of the things he's done. So in terms of other action, you got the Timberwolves upsetting the Raptors by a score of 116 to 112. Karl-Anthony Towns is back. He had 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists. The Timberwolves moved to 7-20 on the season. The Raptors are another one of those Eastern Conference teams that is disappointing a bit as they fall to 12-15.
Well, they got back to, I think they were 500, and now they've lost the last 3, I think. Or they were a game under 500, maybe.
And you got the same clowns who was saying fire Popovich last year, and now the Spurs are playing great. And now they're saying fire Nick Nurse. I thought he was a great coach. It's just so stupid, man. It's just so silly. But the Raptors definitely struggling. You have you have a little bit of a regression from Kyle Lowry and Pascal Siakam and Norman Powell, and they've had guys kind of regress a little bit there. So it'll be interesting to see if Nurse is able to figure that out.
Or if they trade Lowry, that's been a rumor lately too.
Very, very possible if they continue to struggle. In terms of other games, we got the Spurs winning again. They moved to 16-11 on the season. They beat the Hornets 122 to 110. They were led by DeJounte Murray, who had 26 points, 12 boards, and 6 assists. Trey Rozier had another really good game for the Hornets, coming off a 41-point performance. He had 33 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. But this time, the Hornets weren't able to get it done. But they've been about around 500 this year. The East has been really interesting to watch, just standings watch and just see how teams are doing. It's kind of wild right now.
Yeah, it's like there's so many teams that haven't played good, but they're still kind of scary if they figure it out. and then you have teams that are just like devastated by injuries that probably don't have a chance of making a run like the Magic. But yeah, I mean, between the Sixers have been struggling lately too. They had the best record in the East a few days ago, and now they come out West and lose a couple games. They lose to us last week with like our whole starting lineup out. So yeah, it's wide open. If the Bucks could ever get it together and solidify themselves a little bit better, and then learn how to play a little better in the playoffs, you'd think this is a year they should easily cruise to the finals, maybe. But you never know.
Well, speaking of the Bucks, they lost to the Thunder today. The Thunder can't tank apparently because their roster is not good, but they're 11-15. I expect them to be maybe the worst team in the league this year, and they've been phenomenal. The Thunder were led by 22 points from Justin Jackson, who has a second straight 20-point performance, so he's giving them good minutes randomly. They had 20 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds from good old Al Horford. Darius Bazley had 18 on 8 for 13 shooting. Lou Dort had 19 as well. Kenrick Williams has been playing decent basketball. It's been interesting, and they knock off a full strength Milwaukee Bucks team by a score of 114 to 109.
Yes, gotta give their coach credit. Last year we said, Billy Donovan, both of us were in agreement that he didn't really deserve a lot of the credit because it was CP3, but then they trade CP3 and just go.
But they also got rid of Billy Donovan. If they still have Billy Donovan, they would not be playing this well, in my opinion.
Yeah. And then, so you got to give their coach credit for that team is scrappy, and you can tell with their schemes, they give effort and they're in the right positions, and they may be super young, but the games they lose are usually because the other team has a lot of more talent, and it's just games where they can't compete with the firepower, but they definitely are a tough team to beat, and that's why this game on is it Tuesday will be really tough.
Yep. The Pistons beat the Pelicans by a score of 123 to 112. Did you see who had a triple-double?
Mason Plumlee?
Yeah, 17, 10, and 10 for Mason Plumlee. Very impressive performance. Sadiq Bey has been playing great. He had 16. They had 21 off the bench from Josh Jackson, 18 from Svi Mikhailuk. So just some random guys stepping up for the Pistons. The Pelicans fall to 11-15. They have underachieved a bit this season. They had 26 from both Zion and Brandon Ingram, but honestly didn't get much else from the rest of their team. You had 13 from Lonzo, 13 from Steven Adams. Kyra Lewis Jr. had 10 off the bench. That's just a weird team. They play so many guards. I'm looking at their lineup, and it's guard heavy, very guard heavy. You got Lonzo, Eric Bledsoe, Kyra Lewis, JJ Redick, Josh Hart, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Just a very weird collection of pieces that aren't really all that cohesive, in my opinion.
Yeah, Lonzo's actually been playing pretty solid over the last 10 games or so as well. But yeah, you got Brandon Ingram and Zion, two guys that are really highly thought of around the NBA. They should not be struggling to beat teams.
Yep. And then the final game, you had the Suns beating the Magic 109-90. They continue to win. We're winning games, but we can't catch them, man. They're right ahead of us for that 4th seed. They were led by 27 points from Devin Booker. They had 21 from Mikal Bridges. Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton had 12 and 10, so they didn't make a huge impact. But the Suns still blew out the Magic, who are very banged up at this point. Very, very tough season for the Magic. Al-Farouq Aminu is still out, so he played a few minutes against us and is now out due to right knee injury. So I don't know what the deal is with him, man, but that sucks to see.
Hopefully it's okay.
Yeah. So standings-wise, the picture still looks the same. You still got Utah, Lakers, Clippers, Suns, Blazers, Spurs, Nuggets, Warriors. It's kind of looked that way for about a week or so. And then it is pretty jam-packed. None of these teams are dropping a heavy amount of games. The Rockets have lost 5 straight, so they've kind of fallen off. But other than that, you have pretty much every other team between 2nd and 13th that is playing 500 basketball over their last 10 games. So not a lot of separation. Phoenix is on a 6-game win streak right now. They're 9-1 over their last 10. So it's hard to catch them. Yeah, it's hard to catch them at this point, man. Like, we're a game behind them. We're only 2.5 games behind the Clippers, but the Clippers will likely win tonight, and we'll be 3 games back behind them. I would like to hopefully jump into that picture at some point this season and battle for a 3 seed or a 4 seed, maybe even a 2 seed if the Jazz fall back to earth or if the Lakers have an unfortunate injury, like long-term injury to Anthony Davis. We'll have to wait and see on that. So that is around the NBA.
And if we take care of business, then I think we play the Suns coming up here in a few games. So that'll be a really important game to win.
Yep. Shout out Blazer Tate 2K for the $2 donation. Do you guys buy Luka is better than Dame? I do not. I think it's close, but not yet.
Yeah, it's tough because Luka puts up such insane stats, but you can see tonight he's basically their whole offense, much like Dame is, but Dame has a little bit more help, I think, this year in terms of balance scoring on the offensive end. Where I don't know, Dame's way more efficient at this point in his career as well. Mm-hmm. Obviously we're biased, but I'd still take Dame as of right now.
Yep, and I feel like there's a legitimate case for that. So, we will be live tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time, maybe a little bit later, sometime around there, and we will preview the Thunder game and talk basketball. We can take maybe questions for 5 minutes, but I am going to wrap up this stream, little shorter stream today. Is there anything else you specifically want to touch on from this win?
Well, so I keep looking for an update on Giles. I have not seen one yet, but he's one of only 2 big men that is on the roster right now. So we might need to finally pick someone up or use a roster spot if that happens. Have a good night, Eric Olson. Also, I just want to say Nas didn't play very much tonight, but man, his 3-point shot looks good.
Yeah,
like it looks incredible compared to what he did when he first came into the league, and he's shooting it with confidence. I really like that. Hopefully, he's fumbled a couple of passes out of bounds, like some really good passes, but hopefully he doesn't have stone hands, and that's just a coincidence that a couple times he's been a little nervous to get the ball. I would like to see him last year. One thing he did really well, probably our best on the team at doing, was cutting off the ball. So don't, just because you're shooting the 3 well, don't fall in love with shooting 3s. Use your athletic ability and cut to the basket a little more.
You know what's crazy? I'm looking at this right now. We have the 6th best record in the league, despite